hashtag this and that, I'll be discussing health and wellness with Amanda Morano and Genevieve Sanders.
Depending on your own personal schedule, try to work it out for that. If you can get to the gym like a minimum of 3 times a week, that's great, you know, but some people are so busy, maybe they can only get once, but I hate to like give a specific number because I know that if some people feel like they can't reach that, then they get discouraged. So
it changes on the person.
It does, it varies, and you have to know that, you know, hey, if you can't get to the gym as much, make sure you're on top of what you're eating.
It's easy to have that mindset when you go to the gym and you really worked really hard and you feel like ravenous after your workout and you just want to eat.
Yep.
But it's very easy to overeat.
Yes.
And overestimate how much you actually did do and how many calories you actually did burn.
Hashtag This and That is a show dedicated to covering a diversity of topics important to women from the perspective and experience of fellow women. Our goal is to give the inside scoop to help and educate women on issues relevant to our daily lives. Thanks for joining another episode of Hashtag This and That on Woman2WomanTV. Today, we're going to be discussing health and wellness with Amanda Morano and Genevieve Sanders. Amanda, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I studied exercise science in college, so I have a degree, and I'm currently a certified personal trainer by the American College of Sports Medicine.
Okay, wow. Yeah. So how did you decide to go into that after college?
Well, I played a lot of sports in high school, so I was a big tennis player, I ran track, so I was always into fitness. I actually wanted to be a nutritionist for a while, but I decided to go more of the exercise route.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Did you take any classes for nutritionist?
I did, yeah. I took a couple classes. I kind of concentrated in it, so because I thought I was going to study in graduate school, but I ended up finding a really great job at a nice training facility, so I've been working as a fitness trainer.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. And so I'm sure nutrition fits into that a lot. Do you help your clients with that?
Yes, definitely. I usually have my clients keep a food log, try to stay on top of their diet because it really is like 70% diet, 30% exercise, so that's like one of the most important parts.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people feel that as long as you work out a lot in the gym, it's okay to go and eat a double cheeseburger.
Right.
Absolutely. So could you speak to a little bit about why that actually is not true?
Right, so yeah, a lot of people, you know, I'm guilty of it myself. If I go and I have a really great workout, I just think that like, you know, I'm gonna go and eat whatever I want to after, but it sort of negates what you're doing. So if you're putting a lot of work in the gym, you want to treat your body right. You want to, you know, make sure you're getting enough protein in your diet. When you're exercising or running or lifting weights, you're breaking down your muscles literally while you're doing that. So it's important to treat them right and get some, you know, a good diet, get some protein in your diet. So,
okay,
for sure.
absolutely. So could you tell us a little bit about what it's like to work in a gym as a personal trainer?
Yeah, this past year was the first time I've ever done that since graduating from college, and it's really awesome. You know, I was working based out of like a very busy year-round facility. So there's a lot of people who just are really like excited about fitness and stuff, and so that gets me excited. I had like probably like between 7 and 10 clients over the last 6 months who saw me 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay, awesome.
So you build like a nice mentoring relationship with them, and it's really rewarding. I had a couple clients who lost a significant amount of weight, so it's really awesome. It's all about, you know, the accountability, meeting with a trainer is really, it just keeps you on track for sure.
Okay, and so do you see not only the physical change, obviously, that's happening in them, but are they changing emotionally or mentally as well?
Yeah, definitely, I would say so. I know one of my clients, she was like afraid to step foot anywhere past like the cardio section, you know. So once, you know, I was able to show her some stuff, by the time, you know, we had finished training together, she was like, thank you so much. I'm doing things I never thought I would do. And I feel like a lot of, especially women, feel that way. They're afraid to, you know, try equipment out. They think it's mostly for men. But, you know, sometimes meeting with a trainer and having them show you a few things really helps your confidence a lot. So.
Absolutely. So do you train any men as well?
I do, yes. I have trained a couple men, all different ages. I tend to work, because I have the degree in exercise science, I have a little bit more of a clinical and rehab background in my you know, specialty. So I work with a lot of older people too. So I've trained a lot of older men and women, kind of helping them build strength and stuff in their later years, which is really nice too.
That's awesome. Yeah. So were you a little weary about working with the men at first, or did
definitely.
you jump? Oh, okay.
No, I was. You know, when my boss asked me if I wanted to take on any male clients. At first I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. But, the more comfortable I got, especially after being a trainer, for a few months and getting used to everything, I started taking on some male clients. I actually trained somebody who was, sort of in my age category, which I never thought I would do. Usually I feel like guys wouldn't want a female trainer,
right.
but that's not always the case.
Okay.
And so I've had a couple really great male clients.
And so that dynamic worked really well?
Yes, it did. It ended up working really good.
That's awesome. And so some of your clients, I'm assuming you've been with for quite a while now.
Yes, yeah. I trained, one of the clients that I had for the longest was about 9 months.
Okay.
She had a specific weight loss goal, and she had reached it probably about 6 months in.
Oh my gosh,
and then she just
that's
wanted
amazing.
to maintain for a while. So I always, I know it's hard sometimes to work with a trainer forever. Some people want to do that. Some people just want it for a time period. So I always make sure that I try to set up clients, with the tools they need before they want to finish.
Absolutely. So why don't you walk us through briefly, if I come to you and I'm going in for a personal training session and I want to work with you one-on-one, what are the first steps that you would take?
Right. So when I first meet with somebody, if it were to be you, I would probably conduct a fitness evaluation on you, see what your strengths are, your weaknesses, look at if you have any, muscular imbalances, any flexibility issues. Just make sure that you're healthy and cleared and good to go. And based on the fitness assessment, I'll start my client off on different equipment. Sometimes some clients can really only do body weight exercises depending on their situation, if they have any injuries, so on and so forth. But and then from there, usually I try to work in like a total body routine with them, especially if I can see a client a couple times a week. Make sure that everything's getting work, that they build a good base of strength, and then from there, depending on their goals, we kind of just progress it that way.
Okay, awesome. And then is there any way for you to kind of see how they're progressing, or you just kind of see as they're working out when they meet with you?
Definitely, a little bit of both. I definitely think that doing fitness evaluations, even if you're just exercising on your own, you're trying to do something for yourself, checking in with yourself or with a trainer once a month, I don't think it's good to look at the scale every single day because it gets frustrating. But usually with my clients, we would do a once a month check-in. We'd check body fat percentage. We'd look at the scale a little bit, but mostly, looking at hip and waist measurements and body fat percentage is important because you want to feel good and you want your clothes to feel good on you. You don't want to just look at the scale dropping significantly all the time. So.
Absolutely. So do you have any clients who came in and didn't necessarily wanted to lose weight, but either wanted to gain muscle or just wanted to become overall stronger?
Yes, definitely. I actually trained a student who at college, she was going to be a senior, and she was on a D1 dance team. So she wanted to build some strength. She felt like her routines were focused mostly on dance and cardio when she was training with her team. So she wanted to build some muscle. So I was able to take her through a routine for that too.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned sometimes people have injuries or various constraints. Have you had to kind of change workout that you would normally do, or using an equipment a certain way to accommodate that?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes it's frustrating because some people will come in and they want to do so much, but they have a really bad back, or they're recovering with like from knee surgery or something. So I definitely have to tweak routines all the time for that. Before I was a trainer, I worked in a physical therapy office, so that helped a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
It's definitely important when you're exercising to always be on the safer side, even if something doesn't feel like it's as challenging, if you know you have an injury, not to push your limitations.
Right. So in addition to helping out clients, I would have to guess that you work out on your own as well?
Yeah, I do. I try to make sure that I have a good routine for myself so that I can, stay in shape. And I try to vary it, periodically throughout the year just to make sure that I'm not growing stale in my own routine. So.
Absolutely. And do you meet with a personal trainer?
I have before. When I was in school, I would work with a lot of my fellow colleagues and stuff. We would kind of train each other, practice on each other for tests and things like that. But before I actually got into a gym and started working as a trainer, I wanted to make sure that I had somebody train me first, just to get the feel for it. So I have worked with a trainer a couple times before.
Okay, absolutely. And so you mentioned before it's good to either check in with a trainer or meet with a trainer at least once. Can a lot of gyms provide a personal trainer for clients?
Yes, they definitely can. Depending on the facility, some places they have trainers available to work with clients all the time. You can schedule usually one-time sessions. If you know that you've been working out on your own and doing stuff on your own, you know, I would tell somebody, you know, meet with a trainer, tell them what you're doing, and then schedule something with them in a couple weeks, so that, you know, they know where you're at now, and then they'll be able to see where you're at in a few weeks, and it'll be a nice check-in.
Absolutely. And so when you meet with your clients, do you give them either at-home workouts or workouts to do when they're by themselves in the gym?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's so important because especially for clients who maybe only want to meet with me once a week, where I was working, there was even a package you can meet once a month with a trainer. So especially with that, I try to tell them, make sure you're doing, you know, certain workouts on your own. I usually do a lot of strength training with clients in the gym, so I'll give them cardio workouts to do at home, and just tell them to make sure they're on top of their food log, because it makes such a difference. My clients who, you know, weren't doing anything on their own, they'd come in and they'd be like, well, you know, these workouts are great, but I'm not seeing any results. And I'm like, well, you know, there's a difference when you're actually focusing on what you're doing outside of the gym too.
Absolutely, because I think a lot of people fear that they're going to meet with a personal trainer, or have the thought that they're going to meet with a personal trainer, they're going to work out for that hour or hour and a half, however long it is, and then they're going to go home and they don't do the work, and then they don't see the results, and it gets frustrating. But it has to be an everyday.
Right, exactly. If people want to see a change in their lifestyle, they literally have to change their lifestyle. You know, there's really, I think in my book, no such thing as a quick fix. If there's a quick fix right off the bat, it's going to take work as you go on if you want to maintain that, for sure.
Absolutely. So have you seen some women or girls that come in and are a little hesitant? You know, you mentioned the one who didn't want to go past the cardio room.
Right.
You know, that are afraid to get on the weights and that are afraid to kind of do the exercises that, you know, men are predominantly around or seen to be doing.
Definitely. I know a lot of women have like the gym fear, and a lot of women that meet with me for the first time, they're like, you know, I just want to tone, I don't want to get bulky. And so I always have to kind of talk to them about that a little bit, because it takes a lot of work for a woman to become bulky from lifting weights. So that usually is not going to happen unless you're specifically training, you know, to be in some kind of bodybuilding competition or something like that. So a lot of it is just misconceptions that women have. A lot of it is just fear that they're going to do something wrong, they're going to get in the way of maybe a guy who's in the gym or something.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of nice, you know, being a female trainer working with other females, because I bring them in there, I get them right in the middle of where everybody is, and I'm like, there's nothing to be afraid of, you're using the gym too, you know.
Right, absolutely. Well, that's very important to do, because I think a lot of girls, especially when they're either working out on their own or haven't met with a personal trainer, are afraid to just throw themselves into the middle of it.
Definitely.
So what advice would you have for the women who maybe aren't meeting with a personal trainer but want to get in there?
I would just tell them to go for it. If they have a friend that they want to bring with them to work out with, even if you both don't really know, you know, if you haven't been in a gym very much, it's just, sometimes it's nice, it'll make you more comfortable. And there's really no shame or hurt in asking. Most gyms have people working the front desk, they have people walking around. You know, I always tell people in the gym, like, if you have a question, feel free to ask, because that's how you start. You know, I had to ask a million questions. I was studying exercise science and still, you know, my first year or two not knowing fully how to use a gym myself, because I was learning, but I realized that it's just really important that if you need help to ask for it, and to, you know, not be afraid to go ahead and try things.
Absolutely.
For sure, yeah.
Okay, so how many times a week do you suggest that people go to the gym?
That definitely would vary. I would say, depending on your own personal schedule, try to work it out for that. If you can get to the gym like a minimum of 3 times a week, that's great, you know, but some people are so busy, maybe they can only get once. But I hate to like give a specific number, because I know that if some people feel like they can't reach that, then they get discouraged. So
it changes on the person.
It does. It varies, and you have to know that, you know, hey, if you can't get to the gym as much, make sure you're on top of what you're eating, or you know, that you're getting good sleep, that you're taking care of yourself. If you know that, you know, you're on the go and you're eating out a lot, and you have the time to get to the gym, try to get in there a little bit more, just to keep everything in balance.
Absolutely. And so what are your recommendations? Because sometimes people just like to do the cardio, they just like to run or do the elliptical. And then sometimes people just like to lift weights because they just want to bulk up or they just want to tone. What's the balance, if there is one?
Yeah, there definitely should be a balance. I know for myself personally, I kind of want to like have a little bit of everything, you know, cardiovascular fitness and some strength. So I usually recommend that people, especially women, lift like 2 to 3 times a week if you want to do that, but not to leave cardio out, because doing cardio is really healthy for your heart. You know, you really need to keep that in mind. So if you can lift and then do a little bit of cardio after you lift, that's actually very beneficial. You burn a lot more calories too when you do cardio exercise after you lift.
Oh, really?
But I always recommend doing a couple sessions of lifting, 2 to 3, and then if you could, get in another 2 sessions of cardio, that would be pretty good, especially when you're starting out.
Okay, awesome. And so what about if people do want to lift? Breaking it up based on the body parts.
Right. So once again, that will depend on how many times a week you want to lift. The most standard way you can go is like lifting 2 days a week. You can do upper body workout and a lower body workout.
Okay.
Usually for most people, if they have a busy schedule, that's what they can do, and that's what I recommend.
Okay.
If you're training a muscle group hard enough, you shouldn't need to repeat it twice in a week.
Okay.
Because when you're sore, it takes a couple days to repair. So overtraining, and so if you do 2 upper body workouts within 2 days of each other, you could be hurting yourself because you don't have enough recovery time.
Okay.
But if you want to get more into it, you can definitely break it up to a couple more times a week. I know a common split for like a 3-day-a-week training session is like lower body, arms and chest and like back and shoulders or something like that. So you can break it up. I would definitely look into it for your own needs and, depending on any restrictions or limitations you have on when you're creating a split.
Okay, great. Would you at least recommend that everybody either who has been working out is going to start working out meets with a personal trainer at least once?
Yeah, I would recommend it. If you can, totally go for it. If you know somebody who has been exercising for a while and you want to start with talking to them, but personal trainers, they're certified, they know what they're doing. Getting certified is usually like it can be an intensive process, especially if you have a good certification. So you can't go wrong. You're better off that if you want to do it right, to check with somebody who's been doing it and who knows what they're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. My next guest, Genevieve Sanders, is a dietitian, correct?
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, hi. Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. Welcome.
So I'm a dietitian.
Okay.
I just completed my internship.
Okay.
And I just started my first job as a dietitian in a long-term care facility.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what made you decide to get into being a dietitian?
I guess, I can't think of any one specific thing, but just going through school, high school, I was always involved in like dance team, and I was always active, and I always, ate whatever I wanted. And I guess I like the cliche of just, you get out of high school, I wasn't doing those things.
Yes.
I was never someone who went to the gym. I always just was active. And, I gained weight. I wasn't paying attention to what I ate and everything. And I guess just starting to look into that and discovering like, oh, this is really interesting, and it's important to be fit and be conscious of what you're putting into your body, and
Absolutely.
Eat for health. So I guess that's really when I started getting interested into it, and learning like, oh, you could actually have a career in this. Like, really? Talking about food all the time? It's awesome. I can do that.
Yeah.
So that's really what kind of got me interested in the first place.
Okay, awesome. So the previous guest, Amanda, was is a personal trainer, and was saying how it's basically 70% nutrition and
Yes.
about 30% of working out.
Absolutely.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that. You know,
Right.
as I mentioned with her, they think you can go and work out, have a great workout, and go home and eat whatever you want.
Right.
Can you speak a little bit of why that's not actually the case and what you should be doing?
Right. Well, it's true because, you know, it's easy to have that mindset when you go to the gym and you really worked really hard and you feel like ravenous after your workout and you just want to eat.
Yep.
But it's very easy to overeat.
Yes.
And overestimate how much you actually did do and how many calories you actually did burn. And it's easy to just gorge on 1,000 calories after a workout
Right.
without even realizing it.
Right.
So it's important to be conscious of that. And, you know, your needs do increase when you exercise heavily, but, you know, not as much as some people think. So it is, you have to be conscious and, you know, and also when you're exercising towards a goal, it's important that you're putting the right things back into your body for rebuilding and repairing and to really meet those fitness goals. Because if you're not feeding yourself with the nutrients that you need to rebuild and repair, you're not going to get anywhere.
Okay. So you hear a lot of times protein shakes, protein shakes, protein,
Yeah.
protein bars. Tell us about protein.
Protein.
Yes, tell us about this protein.
You know, yes, protein's important, but so are carbohydrates and so is fat. And, you know, I feel like in nutrition, there's so much information out there, and it's important to have people like dietitians who are trained and they have, you know, we have a credential to uphold and we have standards. You have to have a certain level of education. You have to withhold your credential. I mean, there's so much misinformation out there. So, yes, back to the protein. You know, people like to focus on one thing. And, you know, the protein is important for rebuilding, but carbohydrate is also important for replenishing your muscles.
Okay.
So it's important to have a balance.
Okay. And so I hear sometimes you shouldn't eat after 8 p.m. You shouldn't eat after 9 p.m. You shouldn't eat after. What's the truth with that, or what's the standing, or does it depend on the person?
You know, it depends on the person. And, you know, I hate putting times on things like, oh, you can't eat after 8 p.m. or something because, you know, all through when I was going through school, I waitressed and I worked late hours and I would have a full meal after work. It might be 10 p.m. It doesn't matter what time it is. I'm hungry.
Yeah, especially if you haven't had it beforehand.
You didn't have your dinner yet. You didn't have those calories yet. You know, you need to refuel your body. If you're feeling hungry, it's because you're hungry. You know, and that's also important to be mindful of, like when you're hungry or when you're bored.
Right.
You know, the thing with not eating past 8 p.m. a lot of times that comes with because people are, you know, relaxing on the couch and they're watching TV and they already had dinner.
Yes.
And they're bored, so they're munching. And that's where that idea comes in, to not eat after that time, because maybe for some people that's a goal that it helps them to not overeat.
Right.
When you're not really hungry, you're just kind of mindlessly.
And a lot of times at that point, you're not eating carrots and hummus, you're eating popcorn, chips, candy.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Awesome. What is the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist?
Oh, okay. That's a very important question. So as a dietitian, you have a credential. It's a national credential that you have to uphold, and there's a minimum requirement in order to get that credential. You have to have a bachelor's degree in nutrition or a related subject, and then you have to complete a year-long internship.
Okay.
You know, the times vary, but it's a certain amount of hours you have to complete before you're even eligible to take the registered dietitian exam.
Okay.
Before you can get that credential.
Okay.
So that being said, a nutritionist, you know, have you ever read a blog on nutrition or anything?
You see them all over the place. I don't know that I have specifically followed one.
Yeah, but like you read something about nutrition in your life, so you're a nutritionist. You know, like nutritionists, they don't have, there's nothing, there's no standard for it. Whereas a dietitian, you have standards that you have to uphold. You have to do continuing education. You have to stay current with the science, and you know, you're liable for the information that you're giving. Everything has to be research-based, and you can't just, you know, you know, low-fat diet, okay, let's run with that. Or gluten-free, yes, that's the new thing. That's the diet you have to do. You know, like, no, as a dietitian, you really look at the research and, you know, go based on that. Whereas a nutritionist, a lot of them can have varying backgrounds. A lot of them can be very qualified. but someone else could also have just, you know, read a book on nutrition.
Right. So do you recommend that someone meets with a dietitian just to make sure that either what they're doing is correct, or if they wanted to get onto a healthier regimen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to a dietitian, you know that they have a certain level of education, that they're qualified to really help you. And clinically also, like if you have anything going on medically, if you have diabetes, if you have hypertension or heart disease, or, you know, varying diseases,
Right.
they're able to help you in that sense as well.
Because nutrition or dietitian, basically what you're putting into your body can really affect everything overall.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely, yes. So, you know, as the dietitian, you really clinically, you look at them and everything.
Okay, that's great. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining another episode of #ThisAndThat on Woman2Woman TV.